Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Deity Civic and Peace Education Audiovisual Series. Episode 5, Good Neighborliness and a Just Merit System. I am your producer and presenter, Dr. Joseph Tomongalode Baba Sr. Welcome once again as we engage in a very fruitful discussion regarding our neighbors and also a just merit system in our society. I'd like to extend greetings to all of you in radio and internet land. I'm your presenter, Dr. Joe Baba, and in episode 4, we focused on how we can restore our national and family values by living our traditional Liberian African beliefs and customs, and by institutionalizing them in our national curriculum, textbooks, literature, and other forms of socio-cultural manifestations. We discussed how necessary it is for us to learn how to speak our traditional Liberian languages or vernaculars and patois so they can be preserved and not forgotten. We also mentioned how important it is for us to take our children and families in the hinterland and regions where our parents or ancestors originated from, so that we may connect with our blood relatives and then learn the traditions of our forefathers and foremothers and the norms and values of the ethnic group of which we are members. So it's very important that those of us who were born in big cities in Liberia and not born in the hinterland, that when you have a family, you have children, you have grandchildren, that you take the time to take them up to the hinterland to meet your relatives there, and also to let them spend some time with them so they can learn, some of the traditions and customs of the people, of your people, of the ethnic group that you're part of, and also that they may learn to speak the languages as well, the vernaculars of the people that you are a member of, ethnic groups that you are a member of, to have your children learn how to speak their languages and all of that. That is so very important, and that's part of education. That's part of being an educated person. The notion or the concept that, oh, I'm educated, so I don't know how to speak my own language is not a good idea at all. That does not exemplify that you are educated. A real educated man will be able to speak his own traditional vernacular and at the same time learn how to speak the English language or the French language, because as an African, your identity is the language and the ethnic group to which you are a member. And if you cannot justify that, then it's a loss of your identity. And then you begin to encounter identity crisis. So this discussion today is very, very important. We're talking about good neighborliness. Who are your neighbors? How do you live together as, one people in the community? If you live in PHP, all the people that live in PHP in that community are your neighbors. How do you live with them? Living with them, learning their way of life and they learning your way of life. Those are ways in which we can live together in peace and harmony, especially after a bloody civil war or genocide. We definitely have to go back to the drawing board to re-examine how we interacted with one another before the war, and now after the war, how do we improve our interactions so that we don't go back to the same situation again. Further, we touched on the need for there to be consistency between values we teach our children at home and at school, and the implementation of those same values in real life situations. For instance, we cannot tell our children stealing is a crime, but in real life, officials of government steal monies intended to improve the lives of the people, but they are not brought to justice for stealing public money. Instead, we allow them to go free, build huge mansions with the people's money while the masses suffer. So also things that we teach our children: thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, honor your mother and your father so that your days may be prolonged. All these things that we teach our children at home. We as adults must exemplify those good qualities and values in real life situations. So if you are a father at home who disciplines his children and tell them you should not steal, and you discipline them when they steal, then why must you now, as a minister of government, leave your home and go out in the public to steal public money, to use something that is not yours? That's what we call stealing. To take something that does not belong to you without permission, without asking the owner whether you could have it or not. You're taking it without their consent or without their knowledge. That is stealing. So in other words, there are a lot of us who are playing double standards, living double lives. We're telling our children one thing and we're doing something completely different in real life. Finally, we spoke about observing the principles of behavior modification and applied behavior analysis in meting out punishments and rewards or reinforcements to make sure a just merit system is put in place. In this way, we do not reward or reinforce unacceptable social behaviors in society. Also, there is a dire need for Liberians to stop living double standards and to stop glamorizing crimes, human rights abuse, and injustice in Liberia. And what do I mean by that? We look at people who squander the national coffers, who squander the funds of the country, and we call them honorable this and honorable that. That expression alone in itself is a misrepresentation. The word honorable in that case is wrongly used, because the English word honorable, what that means is that it refers to someone who follows the law, who adheres to the law, who respects the law, who does not steal, who does not lie. Someone who is upright and straightforward is the person that you refer to as an honorable. So in Liberia, the word honorable is misused most of the time, simply because over 75% of the people cannot speak the English language. They do not understand it. They cannot read it. They cannot write it. And they just, speak it by air. What they hear other people say, that's what they say. But if you really, and when you do that, when you continue to give honor and praises to someone who is endangering your life, who is stealing from you, or whose roguish behavior is crippling the development of your children, your safety, depriving you of good educational, healthcare facilities, good roads, etc. If you continue to praise that person and to call them honorable, to do this and that, then you are perpetuating your own suffering. So it's important that Liberians understand that the word honorable, when you are referring, or when you want to address anybody, but you must make sure that that person is indeed an honorable person for you to use that term honorable on them. So I would like to say welcome to an hour of national reflection and reconciliation again. I am your host, Rabbi Joe Baba, Executive Director and founder of Decorative Artists Theater, Inc. Let us get started. The title of episode 5 is Good Neighborliness and a Just Merit System. Through this Liberian through this topic, I would like to take you into Liberian homes and neighborhoods to discuss what a typical Liberian neighborhood or community felt like when I was growing up and how it seems today after a bloody civil war. But first, let us define who a neighbor is and what the term good neighborliness means and implies. Who is your neighbor and what is good neighborliness? Your neighbor is someone who lives next door or a couple of doors away from you. For instance, your properties may border one another, and so your neighbor sees and sometimes overhears your conversations and observes your coming ins and going outs. You live in a community where your wife, children, and other members of your household interact and socialize with others in your immediate environment who may or may not be members of your family bloodline or ethnic group. Your children play and attend the same school as your neighbor's children. And though there may be cultural differences among residents of this community or neighborhood, your children and your neighbor's children sit in the same classroom, read the same textbooks, and converse with their peers at school and in the community and learn from each other. So you see, there's a whole lot of things that goes on between neighbors. Your children go out to play. They go out to play and they're playing with other people's children. Those children come from different ethnic groups. You may be of a different ethnic group. They come from different social classes. Someone may, some of the children's parents may be medical doctors. Some may be plumbers. Some may be drivers. So it's a mixture of economic and social fabric or mosaic of different professions and all of that. So as the kids mingle with one another, they exchange ideas. Their mannerisms are different because they're from different socio-cultural classes and all of that. Their belief systems are different. Some of the kids may come from Muslim homes, some may come from Christian homes, some may come from non-religious homes, so all these kinds of things combine to make that neighborhood, to make the community. And the way in which we live together peacefully the way how we interact with one another will determine how we can live together in peace and harmony. And one of the ways to do that is to respect each individual for who he or she is. So many times, we expect people to live to our expectations or to live the life that we are living, the type of life that we are living. You cannot impose on other people what you like. What you like may not be liked by the next neighbor. But it's okay. It's okay for there to be differences and to respect one another's differences. And if at all you want to collaborate, then there's a need for you to negotiate, to come to some kind of a middle ground where you will accept some of the person's beliefs and practices, and they'll accept some of your beliefs and practices. Again, that is so important. Sometimes that's why a lot of people, married people, get divorced, because they're two different individuals, and when they come together, if they're not willing to compromise, if they're not willing to meet a consensus, then most of the time that's why they become incompatible, and thus it leads to divorce. So again, it's very important how we live with our neighbors, and especially since we've had this bloody civil war, it's so important now that we respect one another and avoid those things that we once overlooked that led to the bloodshed in the country. So therefore, your neighbor is the closest person to you apart from your household and family members. Hence, a group of families living closely to each other form a community of families who are neighbors to one another. Thus, as a result of your neighbor's closeness to you, the Lord instructs us in the Holy Bible to love our neighbors as ourselves. Against this backdrop, It is safe to say good neighborliness entails not only loving your neighbor as yourself, but also watching one another's backs as neighbors. And when we were coming up, a lot of that happened where sometimes, if my mother didn't have salt and the next door neighbor did, she would send me, say, please go to Auntie Gladys, tell her, say, mommy, say, please send me some, please give me some salt to cook my food. And the neighbor would gladly do that. And it was vice versa. The next day, the next neighbor would say, hey, man, we got a little dry rice there, but we don't have any soup. We got some soup there. Please send me some, so we can eat with our little dry rice. And my mother would do that too, So that's looking out for one another, living together in peace and harmony. When a neighbor was not feeling well, sometimes my mother would go there to help, or bathe the person or ask them what they needed, give them some help to the bathroom, those kinds of things, make sure that the children ate, and that things went on normally as though the person was feeling well. All that is good neighborliness, and that's the way we should live together in peace and harmony with love and respect. So within a community consists of families of diverse backgrounds. So it's very important to understand that in whatever community you live, people will be different from you. Their way of life, their thinking will be different from yours. But it's how you kind of accept the other people, that they too will be able to accept you. If you think that you're better than other people, and or that your way of life is better than their way of life, then there will always be friction between you and your neighbors. And you don't want that to happen, because your neighbors are too close to comfort. So you want to make sure that you have a good neighbor, that when you are asleep at night, when they are not, and they see any danger coming to your house or home, they may, raise alarm and say, oh, neighbor, well, I see somebody out there, or somebody look that want to come and steal, or somebody wants to do something bad, or roll. That kind of thing. Looking out for one another in the community is much better than for you to be fussing and creating chaos all over the place. So a community consists of families of diverse backgrounds. So every family that lives in a community or neighborhood comes from various socio-cultural, political, economic, and religious backgrounds. Hence, each community has a unique characteristic that differentiates it from the others. Here are some examples of various forms of communities in Morovia back in the day, and how families in those communities work together to create a safe social and political space to ensure their safety, well-being, and permanency. For instance, the BTC Armed Forces of Liberia Army Barracks, comprised of soldiers from various Liberian ethnic groups, and its composition was diverse in every respect. At the eastern end of BTC towards the new executive mansion was music quarters. And on the western edge of the BTC around Lane Street and UN Drive was PHP, an acronym for Public Health Pond. Back in the day, its name from the pond came from a pond that once existed in South Beach, Lane Street. We used to swim in the pond and play Bayo Somali, Somali, Bayo Somali, Somali. It was a tag water game we played in the pond. And anywhere a group of us went to swim, like in Rock Crusher or Tommy Bernard Lagoon, all these places, Caesar Beach, we'll play that game in the water. Bayo, Somali, Somali, and then we just dump in the water, and someone will come running after you, and like that. We used to have fun. But what I'm trying to say also is that in these communities there were different people, different ethnic groups, and all of that. But yet we lived in peace and harmony. Nobody cared about who was what tribe and this tribe, what political party they were part of, and all of that. That didn't matter. What mattered was that we were neighbors. We were members of the same community. And so we accepted one another as we were. So apart from the PHP, from PHP, there were KK Yard, Bassa Community, Slipway, Bishop Brooks, Soniwen, West Point, New Crew Town, Old Crew Town, Rock Crusher, Firetown, Claratown, Gibraltar, Looking Town, Single Old Road, Single Airfield, Shortcut, behind the transformer, Smart Road, etc. So we had all these different communities and all of that. But sometimes we came from our communities and went to other places, to play games, to socialize, to meet girls and other people, friends, visit friends and all of that, and so it was very peaceful. We didn't have that issue of what tribe are you, who are you, where you come from, and all those kinds of things that happen nowadays, where there's so much distrust. We trusted one another, and we listened to our adults, our parents, what they told us, what they advised us to do. That's what we did, and because of that, we grew up living happy, fruitful childhood lives. And of course, as I said, each community had its own unique characteristics. Some were very poor neighborhoods where criminals resided. Others were struggling communities affected by the uneven distribution of Liberia's wealth, with poor sanitary conditions and struggling families fighting hard to send their children to school and so forth. However, what was common in each community I just listed was that the families in those communities looked out for one another. So if you went if you came from PHP and you went to West Point, you better behave yourself. You're not going to go to West Point to go jump on anybody in West Point. The people in West Point will come for you. So that was the kind of a situation that we lived in those days. We all looked out for one another, and most of the time we would travel in group. We wouldn't just one person wouldn't just leave to go to West Point like that. You maybe 4 or 5 of you will go to visit friends there. And then when you went to West Point to visit your friends, then they will be the host, and they will, accommodate you, feed you, take you around, socialize with friends, and then when they came to visit you too, you did the same thing. So we all interacted with one another. We played sports, and competed with one another. Some of us went to the same schools and all of that. So that built, the relationship between the people, the young people in the country, the young people in Liberia, in Monrovia, those days. And it was very, very, a happy, childhood experience for all of us. My childhood days in PHP community on South Beach Lane Street, I'd always cherish that because, that was the beginning of my life. My childhood days in PHP community were some of the best days of my life. In PHP, our neighbors were from various ethnic groups. For example, Pops Francis Chair Sr. and his beautiful first wife lived adjacent to our home. And then on the left of us was cousin Reverend Frederick Bai and his house full of fun crown gribble girls. His wife was gribble, he was crown, all of that. And the boys wanted to chase these girls. Well, Reverend Bai was very, very tough on his girls. Whenever he came from work, cousin Frederick would call roll. You say, Anna, maybe, B, Tita, Freddie, he would keep calling all his children, and as he called their names, especially the girls, they'll say, Yepa, 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 like that, just to make sure that everybody was safe in his home. But he was very tough on them. And those days, our parents were tough on us, they didn't want their children to get pregnant, So it was very difficult for teen pregnancy, to occur those days because our parents were very strict on us. And when it happened, it was like an abomination. Everybody was like, wow, she pregnant, a big gossip, because we were not used to those kinds of things as it is nowadays. Back in the days, we kind of controlled ourselves when it came to sexual intercourse. Most of the time, it was very rare for us to have sexual intercourse, because of the upbringing, our upbringing. They took us to church and told us that it was sin to do so and all of that. So that kind of helped us to refrain, constrain us, from doing those kinds of things, premarital sex and all of that. In a few yards from our house was a Crew family, the Moses Talafo family. Mr. Talafo was a member of the Armed Forces of Liberia with the rank of captain. He was a medical assistant, and he gave us injections when we fell ill. He was the core doctor of VHP because back in the day, anyone who administered medical treatment was considered a doctor. Oh, that person is a doctor. Whether the person is a nurse or not, we didn't even know the distinction between a nurse and a doctor, a medical doctor. But once we saw the person giving us an injection and giving a few tablets to take when we were sick, we always thought that this person was a doctor or whatever it is. Captain Talafo and Satyadi had about 9 children, some of whom were my age and some were younger or older. And then further down was Mangbadi and her Fanti husband named Mr. Kojo. He was originally from Ghana, but he later naturalized as a Liberian citizen. Mangbadi's aunt's name was Mankofa, and she and her husband, Mr. Kojo, had several children in the home. Sometimes my mother would plan with Mangbadi and Mankofa for both to take care of me when she traveled. We all lived as one big happy PHP family. As children, it's not like these days where, most of the children were born during the wartime and all of that. As children, we played hide and seek at night. We also went swimming in the pond. We made makeshift canoes, or what we termed as boat. It was usually made from an old drum barrel. We would, carve one side of it so it seemed like a boat, and then we would paddle the boat to ride on the pond. Children in Morovia, Sinker, and even as far as Congo Town frequented the famous PHP South Beach. We had picnics, football competitions, and our PHP team called St. Jerry Warriors was invincible. We had great talents like Gray, Sakpa, Joka Raka, Mile Fremont, Westmo Nangwe, Johnny Grant, and many more who later became international soccer stars. But guess what? Shoot, don't tell anybody my secret. I used to be a magic hand. I mean, real big magic hand. When somebody then beat the ball, so I was there. When you got commonly called Yangwei, dribbled all the banana then, and the time they gave me wayward, I was there. I was so rocking in goalkeeping that I organized my own football club called Gay Somo in Frederick Grand, Julia County. It was named in honor of my late cousin, David Gay, who was then the regional police director in Grand Julia County. During that time, they called me Somo Yaya Peking. As my godson, John Oduwale. My early days of playing sports originated from the sandy PHP South Beach. Badio Bati, Bati, Badio Bati, Bati. Lecture. Now, spare the rod and you spoil the child. Okay, let's get back to the real story. Good neighborliness and a just marriage system. Back in the day, most Liberian parents were very strict. They believed in the concept, spare the rod and you spoil the child. And the queer thing about it was that they all worked in unison to protect children under their care, as well as those who were not their biological children. Consequently, all adults had and enjoyed supervision rights to counsel or redirect a child who erred or who did not exhibit good or respectful manners in public in the absence of their parents. Each child was expected to behave appropriately in public and at home. No talking back to elders or your parents when they were speaking to you. Your duty was to remain quiet and keenly listen to what your parents, adults, or guardians were saying to you. Therefore, as children, we were adequately supervised 24/7. In this light, adequate supervision in this text means keeping an eye on your child 24/7. Consequently, it was the normal of the day for any adult to intervene and take whatever disciplinary measures were needed on the spot to redirect the child with no questions asked. Further, after the adult spanked you, he reported you to your parents when they got home. And sometimes you got double punishments for one offense. Excuse me. So you see, those days, it's not like these days where when a child does something or in the absence of their parents and you try to redirect them and the parent comes and say, why are you talking to my child like that? You got no business talking to my child. That's not your child. Those kinds of things give the children the impression that they can do anything they feel like doing in the absence of their parents, and that no adult will talk to them or will not redirect them. And if they did, then their parents will come and jump at the adult, for trying to redirect their children, So that is not good, because it kind of creates a situation where now the adults see the children doing something bad, and they want to talk, but they can't talk, because if they did, then the parents will take, serious exception to another person talking to their child, Whereas back in our days, our parents gave the go ahead to any adult to discipline us, to whip us if we were doing something that was inappropriate in public. There were two major ways unacceptable behaviors exhibited by a child were handled. One, if you were lucky, meaning if your parents or guardians did not use a switch, a leather belt, or rattan to discipline you, then he or she would just verbally redirect or counsel you. They might even explain why the behavior you exhibited was inappropriate and socially unacceptable, such as using profanity in the presence of others. Due to the spirit of good neighborliness, the adults in the various communities felt obliged to look out for their neighbors' children and vice versa. So good neighborliness now, as you can see, extends to the point where, we are one another's brothers keepers, so to speak. We are not one another's brothers keepers. So I look out for you, you look out for me. If I'm not present and my child does something wrong, please don't hesitate to discipline the child and or to redirect the child so that he will know what to do the next time. And all that helped us to be who we are today, to be the type of parents we are, and also to live a very happy and fruitful life where you know the difference between right and wrong, and you do the very best you can to make sure that you don't go against the law. Practicing good neighborliness in our communities for the common good of all families in the community. Now, this is also important. So, good neighborliness, practicing good neighborliness, helps us it secures us. It secures our children. It secures us. It prevents a lot of things, bad things happening when we're not around, when our children are playing or when they're out there. We always have to hope that there will be somebody there, that will be very, concerned to make sure that the children do the right thing, even if we're not there. So part of good neighborliness also has to do with families putting their resources together to improve the livelihoods of all community members. This was done usually through taxation of each family household, as well as voluntary contributions towards community-based projects. Sometimes a community will launch a community-based soccer league in which soccer teams from various communities will vie for a trophy. Those social and sports events helped youth during my days to live happy and self-fulfilled lives as children. We played and we learned, and we listened to the counsels of our parents, elders, older and younger siblings to understand the dynamics of the circumstances in our communities. In addition, the togetherness of our parents and elders in the community helped us to endure the social and political injustice most Liberian citizens experienced in a society where only a handful of citizens enjoyed the wealth of Liberia, while the majority live on the fringes of poverty, ignorance, and diseases in poor neighborhoods and communities. So most of the time, that also helped us, to be happy. We had sports events, we have league in PHP, teams from Bishop Brooks, Bassa Community, Sony Wayne, West Point, KK Yard, they will all, join the league, register to join the league. They helped the community, the youth to raise funds and also to socialize and to bring people together. So most of the time when we have sports events and we have social events like picnics and all of that, all those things helped us to go through the difficulties that our parents were experiencing, especially those who were not part of the upper echelon, part of the big, who were not bishops, to put it in Liberian terms. But ordinary people who were just, like janitors, market women, going to the market to sell, food, uh, rice, chicken, fish, those kinds of things, just to earn a living. But notwithstanding, we were very happy. I was very happy. My mother was a trader. She used to sell goods, palm oil, greens, fish, dry meat, and all those kinds of things, and she always had money. And so, we were satisfied. I was satisfied, and I got all the best treatment I could get, that a child could get, during my days and all of that. So those things, because the people lived together, they were good neighbors, and they looked out for one another. It helped us to grow healthy and to be happy. Parents engage children to snitch on one another to ensure children's safety. So also one of the things that sometimes used to happen and among the children, we would get upset, but which was good was that if we went out, the parents would say, well, you're all going out there now, you're going to West Point, you'll take time, you'll be careful, nobody should misbehave. We say, okay. So on our way, if we're going to West Point and somebody does something they're not supposed to do, sometimes, we will keep it as a secret. But, keeping that thing as a secret, where, say, for instance, a group of young kids leaving PHP going to Suning Wang, for a game, and somebody saw, or somebody, what's that, maybe some shirt or trouser or something hanging on the line, and they went and took it, for kids, they would think it's wise to say, oh, don't talk it, don't say anything to anybody that took the pants, from the line there, from the clothesline, or in Suning Wang, But if you kept it as a secret, then now that's going to empower this person to continue to steal things. And as a group of people, because you come from PHP, you don't want for the reputation of your community to be damaged, So a good person among the kids would snitch, and go back and say, oh, ma, when we went, Daniel went and took somebody clothes and did that, and the parents found that out, they would definitely discipline you, that you're not supposed to do, which is a better thing to do. But then for children, we don't see it that way. The children didn't see it that way. They would say, oh, you're snitching on me. So sometimes they would try to ostracize someone, I thought, because the person talks too much. But that snitching strategy worked, though the aftermath sometimes were that your friend you reported to his parents did not speak to you for a while, and or threatened to beat or fight you on the playground. Sometimes it ended in being labeled unreliable, or or snitch. Oh, that boy can't keep secret, or so and so thing, and ostracized. You felt you were ostracized by your peers who spread the news that you could not keep secrets. Nonetheless, snitching kept us in check during the absence of our parents or elders, when it was only the youths together. Everyone in the community stuck together, and that helped us survive as one big, happy community family. So being happy and really working together, children working together, the parents working together, having one understanding, all of that, all those things are very healthy, for the youth. So, and it's not good for the children to see parents cussing one another, using profanity in the presence of children, all of that. So our parents were very, very mature in that they wouldn't want to do that, because if they did that, then we will imitate their bad, behavior. So they would not want to do that. They would try to restrain themselves from engaging in all kinds of profanity, during a time of misunderstanding. So back in the day, family was the priority. Here, the value of family was paramount in that then family was not only defined as immediate biological relatives, but your neighbors and community members were also your extended family. And they are indeed your extended family, if you live together in peace and harmony. And sometimes you got along more with some community family members than you did with your biological relatives, which is true. But today, this isn't the case. Today, there is too much hatred and grudge keeping among Liberians. It has greatly eroded the close relationships that subsisted among families living in the same community back in the day. As a result, most of us have lost our sense of togetherness and tolerance of our diverse community members. Before then, members of the same community protected one another and their respective communities, but now Liberians at home and abroad are factionalized. They are split on political differences. We must not abandon the cohesive family relationships our parents established in our communities that glued us together to give us a sense of identity and belonging as Liberians and as members of our various communities. This process is very crucial to rebuilding the broken pieces into this Liberian society and communities, whether at home or in the diaspora. So it's very important for us to understand that all this thing about the person for Cummings, the person for Weah, the person for Prince Johnson, the person for all that stuff is nonsense. The first thing is that we're all Liberians, and it doesn't matter who supports whom. That should not come in between us as a line of demarcation, but rather we should respect one another's choices. So if one person is for Weah, that's fine. One person is for Cummings, that's fine. One person is for Baba, that's fine. Another person for Prince Johnson, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It is part of our constitution, freedom of choice. Freedom of choice, freedom to assemble with whomever you want to assemble with. So once we understand that, then we wouldn't be developing that kind of hatred for one another, because now we understand that the constitution that guides us in the country states that you are free to identify with whomever you want to identify with. So let's put that into practice, and you will see that we'll live together better than what we are doing right now. But again, those things happen when the people are not properly educated on their civic responsibilities and duties. So parents back in the day taught us to be disciplined, sincere, and just in our dealings with people. They set high standards for us to emulate, and they checked on us religiously to make sure we adhered to those values they were teaching us. The standards included rules and regulations and several do's and don'ts that were used as benchmarks to determine if a child had endured the discipline and met the requirements to be rewarded or recommended for a scholarship or a job opportunity. So this thing about, rewarding people, giving them things that they don't deserve and all of that, and giving them praises, calling them honorables when they're doing the worst things to you, that wasn't how we were brought up. We were brought up in a way where we had to work, we had to earn our respect, we had to earn our rewards, we had to do something positive in order for us to be able to get like 25 cents, which in those days, back in the day, was plenty of money, or to get $1. No parent or adult just give you $1. Sometimes they will give you that $1 because you behave well, or sometimes they give you that $1 because you dress well. Your clothes are clean, your shirt is tucked in, and you look gentlemanly. You know, those kinds of things will be things that they will reward you for. And once they did that, that's why most of the time you see us, see me, for instance, that I will, dress well and keep clean, be neat, and demean myself in public, because I've received a lot of rewards just by doing that. So back in the day, the parents, the older people rewarded us when we did something good, and they punished us when we did something bad, because they didn't want us to go the wrong way. And that helped us a lot. So for example, you were considered a good boy if the elders had observed over a protracted period that you never stole, you never lied, you never engaged in a violent act on the playground, in school, or in the community. If you were respectful towards elders, women, and peers, if you attended school regularly and performed well academically, those kinds of things were things that are yardsticks, through which they would determine, oh, this is a good boy. They just didn't get up and say, oh, this is a good boy. No, they saw, they actually say, Joe, what's that? Is that your report card? You say, yes. Let me see your report card. Look at the report card. You got about the 80s and 90s. And so, my goodness, this child is doing well. That older person, they must say, oh, well, you know what? I got a little surprise for you for your 26th, or I got a little surprise for you for Christmas. They encouraged us to do those kinds of things. So now, when you are getting, rewards, and not just only from your parents, but from, the neighbors, elders in the neighborhood, the community, they are rewarding you because you're doing something positive, and all of that. That encourages you. That reinforces the desire for you to do something good. And that's the proper way to bring children up and to bring the citizens up, to encourage the citizens to do good things in the community by rewarding those who do good, not to reward those that did bad, not to reward those that kill your mom and your pa, which we are doing. So that's the complete opposite, and that's why the community, the country is disintegrating. It's going backward. It's going backward because we're doing the things the wrong way. You don't reward people who destroy. You reward people who build. So parents took all these factors into consideration before they rewarded or recommended you for a job or for any privilege you might crave for. For instance, you won't be permitted to go to the movie on Sunday after Sunday school if you did not do your Saturday stints in the home. If you didn't do your Saturday job or work that you had to do to clean up clean the floor, or to cut the grass, you didn't cut the grass, and then on Sunday you expect to go to the movie for your mom to give you money to go to the movie. Nope, you're not going to get it. So what did we do? So if I had to cut grass on Saturday, I would cut my grass with the hopes that on Sunday, when I go to my mom and ask her, can I go to the movie? That she would say, oh, yes, you can go to the movie. That's when they will not give you the money when you didn't cut the grass, and they gave you the money for you to go. That means that they're encouraging you not to cut the grass anymore. And those are the kinds of things that are happening in the society, and we wonder why the society isn't going forward, because we are applying the wrong principles of behavior modification. For instance, you won't be permitted to go to the movie on Saturday after Sunday school if you did not do your Saturday chores in the home. A privilege or opportunity was always attached to performing a task successfully before being rewarded. Nothing was free. We never got anything free. We always had to do something to get what we wanted. Also, olden time parents and guardians promoted the dignity of labor. The dignity of labor is important. So that thing, the thing about, oh, you must clean, cut the grass on Saturday for you to go to the movie on Sunday. That's instilling that sense of dignity of labor in the child, to let them know that if you work, you will earn something, and you will earn it honestly. Excuse me, you're not receiving the reward free of charge, and that in life Nothing is free. You got to do something in order to get something. So teaching your children, how to work and to respect the dignity of labor is very important. That was one of the things that my parents taught me, the dignity of labor. They were of the conviction that one must earn his livelihood justly, sincerely, and by merits. Parents and elders in our lives insisted that we labor because in doing so there is dignity. They instilled in us the notion that a lazy man and his family will sleep hungry, but a strong man and his family will have enough to eat and a roof over their heads. Being rewarded when you obey the law and work hard yields great inner pride and a feeling of self-fulfillment. It provides an opportunity for youths to compete with one another. Mind you, our rivalry or competitiveness or competition uh, uh, with our peers back then was done in good faith. Good faith. We didn't compete with our friends with hatred or jealousy or whatever. We competed with our friends because it motivated us to do better, not to be angry at the person and or to be jealous of the person and or to wish the person ill and or to want to poison the person because the person is doing better than you. No, you want to do better than your friend, but if you don't know that trick that the person knows, then you humble yourself and ask the person, say, look, Somo, how did you do this thing here? Because I've been trying to do it, my man. I can't even get it straight. I can't get it right. And in that friendly manner, in that humble manner, the person will respond, appropriately and say, oh, my man, this is how I do it. And then you can learn it. So we learn from one another. And if somebody knows something that you don't know, don't be angry at the person. Don't be jealous of the person. Don't be hateful, but rather submit yourself to the person and ask them, in a humble manner, how you can learn what they know that you don't know. And sometimes too, certain things that they don't know. And some people can be very selfish. They don't like to share ideas, but sharing ideas are good because you can never tell when you will be in a critical situation where the thing that you knew that if you had taught the person could apply it to help save your life. But because you were selfish, you kept it to yourself. Now you're in a bad situation where you cannot even speak to tell the person what to do, and the person would like to help. But unfortunately, they don't know what you knew that you refused to tell them before when you were in good health. So sometimes, that can be, that kind of behavior can be, detrimental to your own safety and well-being. So on the soccer pitch, we shook our rivals' hands and hugged them even when they defeated us to exhibit good sportsmanship and integrity as sportsmen and women. Nowadays, there is so much to be desired, and one way to help us get back on track is to practice good neighborliness and establish a just merit system that sets guidelines for all who desire to serve their communities and to emulate and adhere to. So you see, so again, it's important for us to understand that good neighborliness is so important because, it involves our safety, it involves our well-being, it involves our permanency. Those three things are very important, and discipline, being sincere, and making sure that you do exactly what is right. Good neighborliness is also very essential because in that way, our children, the children that grow up in that community, when they see that the parents, work together in harmony, with respect, with love, it helps the children also to grow up learning how to live with their families and other people in their communities with peace, with love and harmony as well. Because children kind of copy things. They are like sponges. They absorb whatever they see adults doing. And even if it's wrong, at that time as children, they may not know that it's wrong, and they may grow up doing those things. And in the final analysis, you got some people that cannot even live in a community without fussing with people. You hear them talking loud or saying all kinds of things, profanity, fighting, being violent, and all those kinds of things. So but it's good, that we understand that good neighborliness indeed, can pave the way for better peace in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our cities, in our regions, and in the entire country. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of this episode on good neighborliness and a just merit system. The merit system, or love for the dignity of labor is very important. People don't just get things, on silver platter like that. Nowadays, young people, because of the situation in the country, the norms and values have been eroded to the extent that people think that going to kill, other people will give you the fame and hopefully will give you a big job in the government, or in society. Whereas it's the opposite. But how did we come to this stage where people are being rewarded for doing wickedness, to their own people? How did we come to that stage? We came to that stage because we've, kind of turned our backs on our culture, on our traditions, and on our norms. And now it tells us that it's very important that we return to those norms and values so that we can live together peacefully. And peace in any nation begins in the family. It begins in the family with the mother, the father, the children, the siblings, all of them learning how to respect one another. And then it goes right out there outside of your door to your neighbors. Your neighbors, the people next door to you, are very important people because they see you every day. They interact with you every day. When you get up in the morning, do you say good morning, sister? Good morning, brother? Do you say that, or you just tie your face and you pass by the person? All those little things, they count. They add up. If you are somebody who is so friendly, every morning you say good morning to people, but then this particular morning they didn't see you, they didn't hear you say good morning, that a concerned neighbor say, oh, but Joe always, every morning he always gets up and say, good morning, neighbors, or something like that, but we didn't hear him today. Or let's go and find out what's happening. And, that's good neighborliness too. So they come in the place and they see that you're not feeling well. Oh, we didn't know you. I thought you were not feeling well because normally you would say that, but we missed it today. So that's why we came to come and find you. So those kinds of things, they help. A kid may go to school and his neighbor, didn't go to school. He didn't see his neighbor, in 2 days. That child may go home and say, oh, mommy, I think 2 days now I haven't seen John. Or I don't know what's wrong with them. Maybe the mom will say, oh, but then go and check to see what happened with them, and go there and see that John's father probably didn't have the school fees or whatever it is, and were too, shy to ask the neighbor for help, at least for a loan, to pay the child school fees and all of that. So there's so many things that people go through in life, that you may not be aware of if you don't communicate with them and if you don't show any concern. And once you show concern and you are truthful, to people, it's very easy for them to trust you, to entrust you with the information, to entrust you with what they're thinking and what they're doing, all of that. So it's very important that we live together in peace and harmony, and that we help one another out, because, no one has it all. No one knows it all. We are all learners, and we all need one another. No man is an island entirely of itself, where life is interdependent. I depend on you and you depend on me. And that's how life goes. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Appreciate all those who are sponsoring this program. I want to thank Daniel Buell for his cooperation, the management of Avant Radio. Want to say thanks to Brian Deal of Phoenix FM 102 in Harper for your cooperation and support. The management team there at Phoenix, we say thank you as well. We say thanks to the members of Decorative Artists Theater, Dati Peace Advocates, who made it possible for us to have this program that we're airing. Want to thank all the members of Decorative Artists Theater in Liberia for the wonderful work you are doing and for encouraging me, to also work along with you. Thank you so much. May God richly bless you and your families. Thank you so much for standing up as young people, victims and survivors of the Liberian genocide, to stand up for peace and reconciliation in the country. Through your sweat and through your bravery, through your commitments and sacrifice to maintaining peace and reconciliation in Liberia, our entire nation shall be set free by God's grace. Amen. Thank you once again. This is Dr. Joseph Baba saying goodbye for now. We appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. Bye-bye.